The Voigtlander 18mm f2.8 color scope R that I have right here has quickly become one of my favorite lenses. If you're someone looking to jump into the Fujifilm ecosystem and you're wondering what lenses to get, this is not only the must-have, but I believe this is something that can push you over into jumping into the ecosystem like you've been thinking about, specifically because of how astounding this is. The best parts about this lens are not only its size, but also its style, and the fact that in this little pancake, after I take off this square hood, lens hood for it, this little pancake packs enough character and optical image quality to be able to not only make you feel like you have two lenses in one, depending on if you're shooting wide open or even stop just down to f4, but enough of that beautiful image quality that Voigtlander lenses have become known for, that it truly just makes it feel nostalgic, magical, and just the right image every time you take an image. Like I said, shooting wide open, you get a little bit more blooming, you get a little bit more softness, but it's still sharp. It reminds me a lot of certain Leica lenses where they're sharp while soft, and they're also soft with a lot of definition. Most specifically, I would compare this to the look, and listen, don't drag me over the coals for this, I'm talking about image quality. The 50mm Summicron V3, the way that shooting that wide open, it has a little bit of bloom, but the image quality IQ is definitely still there. And then when you stop down, it just becomes an optically perfect lens. And that is basically what you're getting, a lens that has some character wide open. Even whenever you stop down, there's still a little bit of character, but wide open is just more prevalent. But whenever you stop down, this lens becomes optically perfect. It gives you everything it's supposed to give. And honestly, you're not feeling like I have to get another lens that looks better for client work, for street photography, for landscape, etc. This lens can be everything. And even when you're shooting wide open, that character isn't distracting. It's not super blooming. It doesn't make things smudgy. It just looks right. This lens is built like a tank, and it resolves the 40 megapixel sensors from Fujifilm like a champ. And that might be one of the biggest things, is that for those of you looking at the 18mm f2 pancake, yes, it's autofocus, but one of the things that Fujifilm's website say about it is that it doesn't really resolve the full depth of the 40 megapixel sensor. Not that it's a bad lens and that you're gonna have horrible images, but you're not getting everything out of it. This color scope R definitely 1000% renders every single bit whenever it comes to resolving quality of this sensor. And it's one of the reasons why I can recommend it. The build quality is great. The aperture is clicky, but not loose. It's also not too stiff. It's literally just right, but you have the feedback you need to be able to determine where you're at. The focus ring is smooth with resistance, so you're not overshooting where you need to go. Also, the markings are fantastic on this. You can actually use this for zone focusing. And this little tab at the bottom is one of my favorite things. I just always find it. And it's honestly a really nice shape. It's knurled at the bottom. It's got some ridges, and you're just able to actually find it, have your feedback, feel it. Focus acquisition is really quick. But yeah, I'm gonna put some images on the screen right now so you can see what the image quality looks like, and it's just fantastic. And honestly, in the size of a lens that I believe is similar to the 27mm f2.8 XF RWR lens from Fujifilm, this again is just one of those no-brainer things to purchase this lens. The image quality is great, using it for video. Handheld is also fantastic, but whenever it comes to stills, this is a street photographer, a topography photographer, even in some respects, a landscape photographer's dream. And it's just one of the reasons why I just continue to have this thing stuck onto my camera, again, over the more expensive or more versatile zooms or prime lenses from Fujifilm, Viltrox, whoever. Also with the f2.8, people talk about, well, how shallow is the depth of field? What's it like for portraits? If you're taking portraits, like sincerely, and you're worried about depth of field with a, 18mm, a 28mm field of view, whatever it is, in portraits, it's just not all that. Not everyone's a bokeh whore. Sometimes you can actually take these, for example, these are portraits of my boy Leica Lee Mondre de Leon at his flat in Houston, Texas. And yeah, just layer some things in. Use a little bit more creativity, use some lighting, make sure to add in texture and things like that. Use the foreground, use the background, put someone in dynamic poses for imagery and whatnot. You can take great portraits with this lens without having to stuff a 0.095 aperture in here and just shoot wide open and blur everything out. Photography is a lot more enjoyable. There's a lot more depth from understanding the image, a lot more detail given when it's not just a subject with everything else blasted and blurred, but whenever there's little bits and pieces that talk to you about what the subject is doing in relation to everything around them. That's when photography is the most enjoyable. I recommend, for those of you that are obsessed with bokeh to the point to where a lens like this you would laugh at, I recommend you just learn about lighting, you learn about layering, and more important, you just lay off the crap. Anyway, my bad. But again, if you're worried about the size of your lens or the aperture and things like that because you want to look or feel professional, your images matter more. How many times are we impressed by someone because they use a decade-old camera or an old lens or something like that? And it's not the lens and the camera that really shine, it's that person's creativity and their ability. Same thing goes for you. For the longest time with the X Pro 4, I was saying I want Fujifilm to release that camera alongside their own manual focus lenses with a proper focusing tab and with contacts built in so that I can record the XF data just like with this lens. And honestly, that's what Voigtlander gave us. They beat Fujifilm to the punch, and I don't really expect Fujifilm to be able to shoot far above, if at all, above what these lenses do. And I know that a lot of people want autofocus whenever it comes to a lot of lenses, but honestly, it never bothers me. And lenses like this make me feel like I'm more in tune and in touch with photography. It's one of the reasons why I continue to go back to film photography. And honestly, I think one of the reasons why people are so nostalgic and loving towards film photography when they first begin isn't necessarily the fact that, oh, it's film and it's the whole developing process and things like that. You just feel more in control and you feel more responsible for the image that comes out. Nailing focus, making sure you're at the right aperture, making sure you're at the right shutter speed and all these things, and then later finding out whether or not you got it instead of it being instantaneous is honestly what I feel like people love about film. But that manually focusing experience and that feeling that you're connected to the camera at an extra level than you would be if you were shooting with autofocus is honestly fantastic. You're no longer just picking up the camera to your face and just composing as best you can and hey, let's make sure that it's at least exposed well. But it's that third level of actually focusing that really does take the cake whenever it comes to making you feel like you're a complete part of the process. And it's something that I believe we're missing in photography, and a lot of people that are feeling unfulfilled in photography, getting a manual focus lens I feel like could really just break them out of a funk. If any of that makes sense. Sun's out, guns out, am I right? So Editor D here, I am actually outside right now taking care of my plants, giving them some water for this Texas heat. And I kind of just want to bring up the fact that when it comes to this lens, specifically this Voigtlander 18mm 2.8, it's not just that it's a tiny lens with good optics. It's not just that it's a tiny lens with good build quality. It's the fact that it's a tiny lens so you're going to take it places. It'll fit in your camera bag. It'll fit no matter how small that camera bag is. It'll fit in your camera backpack. It could potentially even fit in your pocket, in a jacket pocket. You're going to take it with you. And I think that's why it's so good, is because it gives you more opportunities to use this 28mm field of view and this 18mm focal length. And it gives you more opportunities to take photos that you're going to love, because again, you're going to have a chance to, because you can take this absolutely anywhere. And I think that's one thing that whenever it comes to these small compact camera systems, we kind of should take into account that originally mirrorless cameras were meant to be compact. CCS was the original term for it, compact camera systems, and when you purchase bags, it was specifically for DSLR or CCS. And I think that, with the advent of all these smaller lenses from Voigtlander, I don't even know if I use the word advent right, but with Voigtlander bringing out these lenses for Fujifilm, it kind of makes nature heal a bit. It puts everything where it's supposed to be, and I absolutely love it. 10 out of 10 would recommend. But yeah, Editor D out. And we're back here now, and if anything, I'm just more emboldened on why I like this lens so much. And honestly, it's just because it works. It's a really, really damn good lens, and it's a really damn good system. And more importantly, it just takes great photos, and I feel so connected to it. And yeah, I was on the fence about switching back to Fujifilm from Lumix and from Leica for the longest time. And I really had a lot of worries about, I wanted to manually focus lenses and I wanted to adapt my Leica glass, but I was really against the crop factor and stuff. And so, whenever I took a leap of faith to be able to get this lens and hoping it would be great, it's kind of surpassed any kind of thing that I could hope for whenever it came to image quality and usability. It's exactly what I needed. It's perfect as a native mount for the X system. And honestly, again, the image quality is what knocks it out. So This is a 10 out of 10 recommend, and I bought this one with my own money. None of my videos are sponsored by anyone at this point. They're sponsored by you guys for supporting and watching. But yeah, with all that being said, hope you guys understand where I'm coming from, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions about this Voigtlander or anything you want me to know, please let me know. But yeah, take it light, but take it.